Henry VII, a boring miser? Think again. The first Tudor monarch often gets a bad rap as a penny-pinching Scrooge. But there's so much more to this king than meets the eye. Did you know that he threw extravagant parties complete with dazzling pageantry, knights, dragons, and even castles on wheels? Join me as I uncover the hidden world of revels, masks, and celebrations during King Henry VII's reign. This is one story that will change how you see him forever. When I was studying King Henry VII and his reign at A-level history, rather a long time ago, I dismissed him as a boring miser, and I couldn't wait to move on to Henry VIII, who seemed far more interesting. But there's a difference between being frugal and wise and being a miser and a Scrooge, isn't there? And let me tell you, Henry VII knew how to put on a good party. When I was researching pageantry, masks and revels in the Tudor period a few years ago, I expected to find nothing interesting in Henry VII's reign, so I was very surprised to find a number of lavish celebrations. Although these tend not to be described in detail in chronicles, like those of the other monarchs, Henry VIII, Elizabeth I, the financial accounts show that they must have been sumptuous and spectacular. There were revels during the 12 days of Christmas during his reign, and there were great celebrations and festivities for the coronation of his Queen Consort, Elizabeth of York, in November 1487. Sadly, we don't have all the details of them. But two occasions that we do have a few details for are the Christmas season of 1493 to 1494 and the celebration of the marriage of Henry's eldest son Arthur, Prince of Wales, and the Spanish princess Catherine of Aragon in November 1501. In his book Court Revels 1485 to 1559, W.R. Streitberger writes that the revels at Westminster for Christmas 1493-4 were elaborate. There were performances by the players of Essex and Wimborne Minster. There was a Morris dance. French players performed on Twelfth Night. And then there was a disguising produced by Walter Olwen with William Cornish in a leading role. Streitberger quotes from the primary sources to tell us what this disguising entailed, explaining that William Cornish came riding into the hall on horseback, dressed as St. George, and leading a fair virgin attired unto a king's daughter. She led a terrible and huge red dragon, which spit fire at his mouth. Cornish led the girl and the dragon before the king and recited a ballad. And then the king's chapel sang. While they were singing, Cornish left with the dragon, and the virgin was led to the queen. When the choir had finished, 12 disguised men led disguised ladies into the hall. The men were described as leaping and dancing the length of the hall. They then unmasked before dancing for an hour. Then the men went and fetched the dishes for the banquet. Another source simply says, in Westminster Hall was a great banquet, where there was a play with a pageant of St. George with a castle, and also 12 lords, knights and esquires, with 12 disguised which did dance. In 1501, there was what is described as a mask or disguising for the wedding of Arthur and Catherine. In his book English Pageantry, an Historical Outline, Robert Withington gives a description of this pageant from the manuscript records. I'll summarise it for you, but I'll also share a link for you to read the primary source account of it. This grand Tudor celebration unfolded in a hall filled with royal splendour and began as soon as the king and queen took their seats. It opened with a pageant featuring a magnificent castle on wheels, drawn with gold chains by 4 beasts, men in costume. The castle housed 8 disguised ladies who were peeking from its windows and turrets, accompanied by a child dressed as a maiden, with children singing as the castle moved. Next came a fully rigged ship, with maskers disguised and acting as mariners. On board was a lady dressed as a Spanish princess. Ambassadors representing hope and desire left the ship and approached the castle to request the lady's favour on behalf of the Knights of the Mount of Love. Rejected, they threatened an attack. The third act featured a mountain from which 8 knights emerged, joining the fray. After the knights conquered the castle, the ladies surrendered and joined them in a series of elaborate dances. Half of the ladies were dressed in the English fashion, the other half in Spanish style. As the performances concluded, the castle, ship and mountain rolled away, leaving the royal party to continue dancing before enjoying a lavish banquet. This intricate display of pageantry highlighted Tudor creativity, blending storytelling, costume and performance into a regal spectacle. It obviously represented the alliance of Spain and England through the marriage of Prince Arthur and Princess Catherine. It sounds wonderful, doesn't it? I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for that one. And those are just 2 examples of pageantry in Henry VII's reign, the only ones that we have complete details for. But they show just how spectacular the pageantry could be. Henry VII wasn't just the shrewd, frugal ruler that history paints him as. He had a flair for the extravagant too. From St. George battling a fire-breathing dragon to lavish banquets, ships, knights vying for love, these spectacles reveal a king who knew how to celebrate in style. So next time you think of Henry VII, don't picture the miser. Picture the party planner extraordinaire. What do you think of this unexpected side of Henry VII? Do let me know in the comments. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.